Special event alert.
Get off your back and grab your cack because you are late for Changeover, your weekly space news and variety show. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by Mr. History, Eric Perrott.
Woo! You guys are so important that I gave up the WNBA game with Caitlin Clark. I had to get off the bandwagon.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Yeah.
That's a big bandwagon.
They got smoked.
Our man in the closet, Jake Wall.
Never forget that cack.
And our little mule, Juanito Lopez.
¿Qué pasó? Buenas noches, everybody. ¿Cómo están? Ya llegué tarde, but I am here.
So take your seats, get informed, and have a laugh as we present Late for Changeover. All right. Yeah, very good. I don't know what all the names you just called me there, but I think I recognized a couple of them.
Holy cow.
Eric's dying up there.
Choking me out. Man. I was laughing at it all.
So I was thinking, if I had a Boston accent, that opening could be misconstrued. So
I think you're right.
Who's
you got your cat. You got your cat. Are you coughing on a cat?
Eric, did you have anybody that you worked with that had like the thickest stereotype accent?
Oh, I'm sure there was one or two. I can't remember any of them, though. It's been a while.
Go ahead. What's his name? Jake, the guy we
I can't. That's the problem.
I can't remember
Yeah,
his
Derek
name.
Lucas?
Crowley, I think his name is.
Bobby Crowley.
Yeah,
Lucas
Bobby
has got
Crowley.
a thick one, but Bobby Crowley.
Lucas doesn't have a Boston accent. He's got more of a New York accent.
Or a Jersey. Jersey.
Yeah, or a Jersey accent.
Yeah,
Right,
park the car with a quarter in the meter.
Yeah, Bobby Crowley had the most bullshit of all space careers.
Holy
But-
shit, Eric! What's the matter with you?
You gotta
Something
mute
went
that shit.
You're
down
gonna get a
wrong,
cough
man.
button. You're blowing my
Oh,
headphones out
man.
over here.
I apologize.
Asbestos or something. Well, what came in that VA letter?
Yeah, right? I need 100% disability.
yeah.
By
It's the
God,
burn
that's
pit.
what the problem
It's the
is.
burn
We
pit.
saw that. We saw them. I physically watched them.
Yeah.
I'll vouch for him.
All
You know,
right,
there's
cool.
a story about that whole PACT Act that it's like being underutilized or something like that. That they're not getting enough. I don't know why they
Oh, they're-
cut the claims off. You know, they had you got to get your claim in, but I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why don't I just claim whenever I claim?
When it happens. That's right.
Yeah, right.
Well, I went through the whole interviewing process with the lady, and she said, your symptoms aren't being looked at as part of the PACT Act yet. And I said, okay. And she goes, well,
Oh,
that
they
doesn't
did
mean
give
it's
you
over.
you did get to
Yeah.
talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, no
She
kidding.
called me back, and then she just said, if some of these things, your AFib and your heart stuff, becomes
And what
a-
she's
an effect,
really saying is we need a few more people to die with your symptoms
And then
before
we'll
we're
come
willing to pay.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
it's all good.
And
I
maybe
heard
they'll
that
go
they-
to Vandenberg Air Force Base and find that there was no burn pits there. Like they found nothing wrong with the missile silos there.
Nothing wrong with the silos that haven't been used in 20 years, but that's okay. So, did you guys know that May is National Pet Month? Legitimately. I was going to make a joke, and I was going to look up when is National Pet Month? And I would be like, hey, gentlemen, it's National Pet Month in October. But no, it's May is National Pet Month.
What a coincidence.
Oh, wow.
So Jake and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot to bring it back up. So I'm bringing it back up right smack dab in the middle of National Pet Month, because Jake had a story about a snake
Uh-oh.
that was awesome. Are you gonna tell that snake
Dude.
story?
Yeah, you want me?
I want you to tell that snake story,
This should be
Yeah.
good.
Okay, I think
and
I've
it goes
mentioned-
back to the story that
It's
you
a-
told when you were driving, and the guy in the back was drunk.
That's right.
And telling the cop that, hey, I got pulled over by you last week.
Bill,
With the
Ooh.
gold
Who
Camaro? Is that what
who
he had?
drove the Golden Nugget. Bill's brilliant idea. Let's clarify. Bill and 3 other dudes lived in a house, basically a military frat house. While we were deployed, Bill's whole job was to pay the rent, and he had checks, had written out all the checks that the guy whose name was on the lease everything. Long story
This is when you
short,
were A-10 guy?
yeah.
Okay.
So we were all deployed. Like as fighter squadrons, you just deploy.
Yeah.
And then there's maybe 10 people left behind. Like you miss out if you're left behind.
Oh, yeah.
His whole job was to pay these. He had all the checks, had everything, just never sent them in. So the rest of the crew gets home and they get evicted, right?
You're out.
About a year before that, Bill, being a Florida man, had brought pre 9/11, he had brought in his fucking cargo shorts pocket a red-tailed boa constrictor from Florida up to Alaska as a pet.
How is it surviving in that weather?
Dude,
How did he
used
get it
to
on
let
the plane?
in his cargo pocket before 9/11.
Oh my
man.
God! Wow, I
You
guess
didn't
so.
have to
Yeah,
do like a metal
Yeah.
detector or anything.
That's
like
right,
you just
yeah.
beep beep. That's it.
yeah.
Right? So he proceeds to cargo pocket this thing and bring it up as a pet. Long story short, his freaking they get evicted. His brilliant idea is to live in the Nugget for the next 6 months
His
in the car.
because in the gold Camaro in fucking Alaska.
That's not real smart.
Nope. He shows up at my front porch. I was roommates with this great man, Dan Schoen. But Bill shows up with one of the green laundry bags and a big dog bowl. And he's like, "Here, you've always been the nicest to her." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I open up this freaking laundry bag and
Holy
it's that
shit.
red-tailed boa.
No.
And I'm like, "What the hell do I do to this?" He goes, "Well, I can't keep her. I'm living in a car." And I'm like,
And he gave you no choice of just like dropping a
like-
baby off at the fire station, just like, here you go.
How
Yeah.
big is this thing by now? I mean, is it?
"Oh, at this time, it's not that big. It's
Okay.
maybe 2.5 feet long.
Ooh.
Not bad. Like mice. He's eating mice
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
time."
This is the same one that you had in Orchid, right? The one that that's a good story.
Well,
Wow.
in Aurora, the one in
Yeah.
Aurora.
Oh, in the Aurora. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had this thing for years, actually.
Really?
I got it. He was really mellow, but he got up to about 6.5 feet long.
Tell me you named
And-
him and we're stroking it.
Yo, dude, he was awesome. He was mellow. I would desensitize. He never struck it. He only struck at one person one
Huh.
time. And it was a kid that was dicking around with a
Oh,
McDonald's toy, and it was white.
Mhm.
And he was going to shed. So he had cloudy eyes. And I
Oh,
told the
yeah.
kid, I was like, "Don't mess with him. He's grumpy right now.
Same
Don't do
dude.
it." And the kid's like, and then just bam, hits the glass right in front of him.
Oh,
Ooh.
no
And the
shit.
kid, I was like, "Ooh."
Kid, wake up.
It's a little white thing wiggling around.
Yeah,
and
sure.
he can't
Right,
see,
right.
But that snake got so big that it would just bump its shoulder and pop out of the cage and then just
Oh,
be
wow.
gone in my house in Aurora. And then once it got hungry, it would literally slither out of the couch while you were watching a movie, and it would just be like, "Whoa, what are you doing, buddy? Freaking get out of here."
Did you lose your
Will-
cat and your dog and your rabbit? And
No, that was the thing. Like at 6.5 feet long and like that big
Oh, yeah,
around,
man.
you're buying rats, and
Oh, yeah. Like
it's
full sizes,
eating.
right?
Yeah, it's eating big stuff. And I was like, "All right, I can't deal with this guy anymore." But he just freaking would get out whenever he wanted at that point in time. And I'd put bricks on top. I would freaking get a
Oh,
special
wow.
cage.
But
He's
no.
like, "Nope."
This
He
thing's
would
just
pile
one
up in the corner.
6 foot of
and just-
muscle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But he was
Oh,
very well behaved. He was honestly like,
How long did you
super
have
mellow.
him for?
fucking,
snakes scare the shit out of me anyway.
holy cow. Like 10 years, 9 years, 10 years.
Wow.
Do you think maybe he
So-
outlived Bill?
Oh, definitely. Bill probably At least.
So
on
what's
a
the longest he
second
was
stroke.
gone for? I remember you telling me
Bill
a
got
story that
CO2 poisoning
you thought
from the
you
gold
lost him
Camaro.
forever.
Oh yeah, he was gone for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea where this thing is. He's probably dead somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And I even put a rat in his cage. I had a rat living in his cage that had made a little nest in the corner and everything. thinking
Wait,
that
come home.
the snake would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna freaking nah.
That's
I'm not going back in that cage.
That is nuts.
Something may have got him.
Yeah, I ended up giving him to one of the back shop kind of intel guys.
Oh, you
The
just
guys
kept
that one of the
passing
guys that
along.
worked in the server room at
Mm.
Buckley.
But
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So this guy, the snake, went from Florida to Alaska,
yeah.
Colorado.
To
Colorado,
the whole time I was in tech school,
Wow.
he was
Vandenberg.
with me.
to California.
Vandenberg.
Then that's a well-traveled snake.
Were you married
Yeah,
at the time? Did your wife like
No.
this thing? I was about to say.
Yeah, she didn't mind the snake at all.
Really?
And like I said, he was mellow. Like you could pick him up like
No,
Yeah.
thanks.
no worries.
No.
Totally mellow. Just push his face out of your face. Like, come on.
No.
But he was getting big, like to the point where I used to have him just on my forearm, like just on the forearm, hanging out, playing video games, that kind of thing. And then at one point, he's like,
Hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like,
No.
but you're getting too big. And I
That's
looked up how
crazy.
big they could get. I was like, okay, well,
Yeah. Yes. If you
Yeah,
as long as you
that's
keep feeding them.
he's like 10 and a half to 12 feet. I was like, or something like that. I was like, all right, time to call it. I'm not feeding baby pigs.
You're right.
See, the animal story I remember, or the pet story I remember, it wasn't my pet, but I was in Alpha Battery, 4th Battalion, 1st Field Artillery, and we had a first sergeant who was a frock first sergeant. So he was an E7, but he hadn't gone to school for it, so he wasn't a diamond wearer. But he was kind of a, you know, I don't know, not the highest caliber E7 before they picked him for first sergeant. So when he made it, there was a lot of resentment, and he wasn't very good at it. You know, he wasn't ready for it, but he wasn't very good at it anyway. So we were the Alpha Battery Outlaws, and the battery commander and somebody, one of the NCOs, thought up, oh, we should get calling cards, because we used to go out in the middle of the night and like go to other batteries and like cut their wire and shit like that and fuck with each other. So he's like, hey, we can drop these calling cards off. And so the calling card became this quote from Outlaw Josie Wales.
Oh, yeah. Good.
And it was that whole plum mad dog mean quote, you know, when he makes that. So they made up a bunch of business cards with this Outlaw Josie Wales on it. So somehow on a battery run, there was a stray dog, and the first sergeant took him in and then called the dog Josie. Right? And treated that dog better than a lot of the freaking soldiers in the battery, right? So there's a lot of lower enlisted guys that hated this guy, just hated him. So one guy in particular, when he was PCSing, the night before he was supposed to fly the next day, he got that dog that used to be kept in the company area, the battery area. Somehow he got that dog and spray painted it before he flew like the next morning. And I was like, that was pretty mean, because you walk in the next morning, you're like, what's the matter with the dog? It's got
That dog
stripes
didn't do
and
nothing,
spots,
man.
Spray
I
paint. And
know
it was
that poor dog.
it was like a Labrador or golden lab color, so it was blonde and it just had all the spray paint. And he was kind of hung, just hanging his head and walking around, and you're like, oh, that's fucked up, but it's understandable.
No.
that's the one dog.
You know,
That poor dog.
that's a
Yeah,
great
it was
transition.
sad for the dog, but it was like, I don't think the first
Yeah.
sergeant got the message. But it's too bad. But
Said he had a dick owner.
I had a
It's pretty
story
ballsy,
for you
yeah.
concerning dogs. It's tough though, man.
yeah,
It makes
I
me into a
know.
bad guy.
But it's a you
Oh.
wouldn't have thought, it doesn't make you a bad guy, but it's something that you wouldn't have thought we would have had to do, right?
True.
You know, as
So
military.
Clark Air Base, volcanoes blowing. We evacuate. they immediately evacuate all the families prior to the big eruption. And they tell the families, you're going to be coming back. Don't take your pets. We can't take your pets. You're going to be coming back. Well, they're gone. They're not coming back. Base housing is left totally unattended. So we get back from our evacuation point on the island. We come back. We reconstitute the base. Cops take over the housing area, and they divide it into sectors. We called them sectors. So, one group of cops had sector A, B, and C. And when they finally got to packing out the housing, we had the, what do they call those guys? Not transport guys, but
TMO guys.
TMO guys.
TMO, yeah.
They always put 2 cops with the TMO guys to escort them into the houses and start. Well, on 2 occasions, the cop, as well as one of the TMO guys, got bit by a dog that had become rabid. The dogs were becoming rabid because they were starving to death. Nobody was feeding them. Nobody's drinking them.
What do you remember? How many days it may have been before, since it happened? They evac'd and then you guys went in.
Yeah, we evac'd. Had to be like 7 days. We left.
Oh man!
From Clark, we went to a farm, a college. It's a farming college on a dead volcano, which is even funnier. But anyway, we come back. It's like a week later, and the dogs are in bad shape. And some are walking around, some are running around. So I was tasked with a senior airman to put dogs down. So I ended up putting like 6 dogs down that were rabid and showing aggression. That was a tough day, man. Putting dogs down.
Can I ask how, like with the pistol or
shotgun?
Oh my God, Jesus!
Well, we weren't. It was a slug. We were using.
Yeah.
Slug.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it still put a big nasty hole in him. It wasn't pretty. So, but we killed 6.
That's tough, boy.
But that's something you never would think.
No,
was going to happen. That many pets that were left in a pretty big base housing at Clark.
And what are you going to do? Just leave the door open and let a rabid dog or freaking rat
and there's no rescue.
You can't do that to the local population. You can't do that to.
No.
I mean,
some were already out in their fenced-in yards that were still there. Some where we came back were already, partially almost.
But
dead.
like you said, it shifts from a thought exercise as soon as somebody gets bit, and then you're like, okay,
we got to take care of the problem.
We got to protect ourselves.
We got to take care of the problem.
These things aren't getting any better. Nobody's going to come take care of them. God,
we had
but I mean, at least there's a reason behind it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It wasn't just because like.
You were just on a killing spree. Yeah.
I'm
it's
the
not like
dog killer. I'm here to kill the dog. So
it's not like, this dog's not trainable, so I'm just gonna go shoot it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you never in your lifetime go, I'm going to be walking around, killing dogs. So that was tough.
What year was that?
91.
Wow.
91.
Was it 91? Oh, wow. I didn't even realize it was that far back. I thought
because I got to Pete in 92.
Okay.
And that was my assignment back. So, yeah.
That was like the last straw for Clark, too, right?
Oh, yeah. It closed immediately after we.
Because they had that local terrorist shooting, a couple of them or something.
Well, they had a coup.
I was in downtown Manila during the coup.
Earthquake and the volcano, right?
Yeah. Well, the earthquakes were constant with the volcano. We had earthquakes happening every day.
We interviewed, I interviewed Derek Lucas, and he talks about during that time when he was shoveling. They had to get up on the roof and shovel that ash off
to get the weight
because
off.
It was too weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it was like snow. It was
some of the hangars. The whole flight line looked like it was bombed because all the hangars, aluminum.
Collapsed.
Some place they had all collapsed. They were all flat.
Oh no way!
That's
mud flows came through the AFES parking lot where all the cars for sale. Smushed them all together.
Man.
Mud flows just slid them all across the park, man.
Oh.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. I came back, my car, it was a little freaking, it was a convertible with a soft top. Suzuki, the Suzuki
Samurai,
the little square one.
Samurai,
the Samurai, the
so the whole thing was all collapsed and freaking ash up as high as the seat, man. It was awful.
If one of the biggest guys in the Air Force at that time, Eric Perrott, chose to buy one of the smallest cars on the market at that time, a Suzuki Samurai.
That little
Did it
bad
have-
boy went everywhere, man.
Did it have pink like stripes and shit on it?
Oh, they all had those crazy
no.
That's
stripes.
what I thought. I thought they all did, right?
No, this one, it was just gray. It was a solid gray. I should say silver. It was like a silver. I'll show you a picture. I got that.
Are you sure it wasn't
Now,
aggressive standard?
Those silver ones had those like Dixie cup blue and purple stripes down the side.
Not when Eric bought it. He was
Someone
like,
must have spray
scrape,
painted
scrape.
it,
He manned up.
silvered it. But you talk about a great assignment, man. That was a freaking amazing assignment,
That's what I've
especially
heard.
for a cop. For a cop, it was amazing.
Little Mule. Speaking of animal stories, Little Mule. Do you have a animal story?
I don't know.
A
I
pet
have
story.
a few.
Oh, what's
So-
the pet story? What's the pet story that Teapot?
So
knows
I
better
had gone
than
to
you?
Alaska, right? Remote. So my wife stayed
Sorry.
behind. Teapot got orders to Vandenberg. So they needed a place to stay. So him and his wife were staying at our house. We had an extra room. So we stayed there. So we had this hamster, Mr. Nibbles. And by this time, Mr. Nibbles was already like 5 years old. Like he
That's
had
good.
gray hair.
That's good.
So
Nibbles.
so
That's gold.
I ended up getting orders back to Colorado. I send the orders to my wife. It's like, hey, whenever you want to start leaving. So
yeah,
my wife preps a house to rent it. By that time, Teapot has an apartment. He's letting my family stay with them. Teapot and his wife. So my family's staying there. Mr. Nibbles goes there. Well, there's ends up being a fire
Ooh.
going on in his apartment. So they all get out. And Mr. Nibbles is inside. Smoke everything, whatever.
Come on.
He survived that. Like he comes out.
Wow.
He just slept the whole thing. He's great. After
He's like,
that,
I got bronchitis.
I was like, man, all right. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Mr. Nibbles, but
10%
I thought
for Mr.
my
Nibbles.
family was going to leave him behind. Like, okay, PCS in Colorado. Well, they take him with them. He does a 3-day road trip back to Colorado. He's fine.
Damn.
This hamster ended up living an extra other 5 years
Oh,
over
jeez.
here.
Mr.
What?
Nibbles
Like,
is
he-
hardcore.
He's hardcore.
And like
No wonder you call him
and
Mister.
he-
He
Nibbles.
deserves.
hey, that last month he was just like, we knew he was getting older, so he was just sleeping, maybe get on his wheel and just do a slight jog, and one day like it was
so
man,
pathetic.
I know,
He looked like the Fat Boy program in the airport. He was like
yeah, and
Just
he was a
moving
teddy
their-
bear hamster.
moving their shoulders more than.
Well,
their
he was a
legs.
teddy bear hamster, so he was fluffy, and
Fluffy.
yeah, he was nice and fluffy, but gray. And one day we start smelling like a funky smell. It's like, man, what's that? Smells like. Have you guys cleaned out Mr. Nibbles' cage? He's like, no, he's older, he's resting. So we let it go.
Resting?
And it really starts smelling. Nah, man, Mr. Nibbles passed away. We never even knew it. He died a peaceful death in his sleep.
Unloved,
buried him. We
unattended,
buried-
peaceful death.
No recognition. Just
We
just
buried
another
him in the
tin
front
soldier
yard.
on the battlefield, man.
So we
in
buried
the
them
front
in the
yard,
front yard.
for all the public. No taps,
And-
no nothing for the nibs. He's
So-
PCS more than most space nerds.
So
Man, I got to know which one of you hardcore Air Force veterans named him Mr. Nibbles.
that was my daughter.
All
That's
right.
awesome. That's a
So
great
gold.
name. I could live with
Mr.
that.
I love it.
Right.
But I mean, after
Damn, that was a
surviving
good one,
that
man.
fire, after surviving that
Fucking
fire, I mean,
fire.
he
Survived
lived
a
another
fire.
5 years.
It was probably all that smoke inhalation that
Oh,
got him in. He might
All
have gone for
singed
20.
up forever.
Bronc-
PTSD'd up. I remember the fire of 04.
He's smoking pellets on the corner telling his
Yeah.
story. Let me
Oh,
tell
my
you.
Yeah.
God.
Look at you with your fresh carrots. Back in my day, during the
And
fire, we got dehydrated.
And you're loving children.
We had to hydrate them with our own
Nobody gave a
spit.
shit about us.
Our own spit, just to get them hydrated.
Now, the one story though I do have, I had a
God.
sugar glider, and
Oh, fuck.
All right.
so sugar gliders feed it yogurt, whatever. And one time I had the bright idea of feeding an apple with the peel.
Wait a minute. What was this thing again?
A sugar glider.
It's essentially a
It's like a
flying
flying
squirrel,
squirrel.
right?
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
even know. I've never heard of that.
Like
So,
a
anyways,
furry
It's like
chinchilla.
Australian or New Zealand or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, they're from Australia.
Yeah.
So it's actually a type of
See, look it up,
possum.
Eric. You can search it.
Yeah.
Sugar
I've
glider.
learned something.
So, anyways, there's a day where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a piece of apple, and it had the peel. Well, you're supposed to take off the peel because it gets stuck. So I didn't know this until the vet told us when it was too late.
They have a symbiotic nature. They have a symbiotic relationship
So
with koalas.
So
the
the thing-
koalas peel them for them in nature.
Oh.
Yeah.
so,
Oh my
so
god.
anyways,
And in return, the sugar glider goes out and finds the
Yeah.
female koala.
So-
It's like, hey,
Yep.
look, I got somebody you need to meet.
I feed it this apple, and it actually got stuck. It starts throwing up, like water could hold retain. So 2 days later, it gets really weak. The thing about sugar gliders, they bond to you. So I was
Oh,
the
no.
sugar glider's favorite. It was like, come hang out with me, whatever. We take it to the vet, and this whole time I'm driving, and it's just holding on to my finger, just hugging it the whole time.
Oh man.
Just weak. And then
Was he in the passenger seat? Like,
no, he was just
Holding
hanging
on
out
to
with me. And
What was his name?
that one? What they
Mr.
named
Nibbles
that one?
2.
Oh man, this
So
son
anyways.
of a bitch looked into your eyes as it died, and you don't
It
even
did.
remember its
It
name.
did. It did because
Wow.
It's
when we
like,
got
Juan,
there,
why? You did
it,
this to
it was
me.
so dehydrated that the vet's like, okay, I'm injected with some water, like maybe, but it's like, hey, we got to put it down, and like it's like this sugar glider's hearing the whole thing. It's just holding and pressing onto my
he's
finger
hearing the-
even harder, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, and dude, my family's looking at
Someone
me.
let
My,
him kill me.
everybody's crying, and I'm like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm like holding it in.
Did
and
you
we
admit to your act, like
Yeah.
your
bet you
active
did.
role in the
You're
killing of this
liable.
spider?
You are
And
liable.
well, that's when this I was the last thing you fed it, and then she asked if the peel was on there. I was like, yeah. I was like,
She's
well,
like,
you're not supposed to do that. Blah,
Sugar
blah, blah.
glider
this.
murderer.
This death's on you.
Murderer.
But he's anti-rodent. That's the second one, right?
Wow.
Are there more? How many more? How many more? Juan?
There are going to be
Oh,
groups hunting you,
we
Juan.
had hedgehogs. We've had all kinds of stuff. But
And they
we'll
all
stop
die.
there.
I had none of them ever come back.
Now the
Just-
meat. Now the meat
The
story,
shrines
though,
keep moving.
we
Like
did have a Maltese dog, and we had it at Vandenberg.
and
And
Eric
she,
shot him.
I told the kids take care of it. Hey, you got to take care of the
Some
Maltese.
security forces with a
No,
12 gauge slug came by.
no, I'm not. I
no,
didn't do
not
what
this
that.
one.
No, I would. So, the kids wouldn't pick up the shit, like the backyard. And I would come back from the schoolhouse. I just had one day where I was just like, all right, that's it. I was like, we're taking a field trip. Grab the kids. I grabbed the dog, and we go straight to the SPCA.
Wow.
And I
Laying
just
down
dropped
the
it off.
law.
I gave some donation money. Here you go. And everybody's crying. But I said I had to keep my word. It hurt me just giving the dog out because it
is
was a
this
good dog. It
pre
was
or
awesome.
post sugar glider?
This is pre.
Free sugar
Oh,
Wow.
glider.
that was the beginning. That was the beginning
Was this
of your
was this-
willingness.
Post Mr. Nibbles?
No, this is pre Mr. Nibbles.
Oh,
So
Here you go.
so
was
you
a
established a
track record.
pattern way back when.
red
Mm.
flags.
So
Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
is I was serious because after that though, the kids were on top of all the pets after that. But it's just like if I
Except
if
for
I
the
would've
one
said,
they
like,
left in the fire.
Well, yeah, but it survived. So
Until 4 days later.
5 years later.
5 years
Yeah.
later.
but I don't know. Maybe my kids have some trauma. Like they're traumatized from that field trip. But yeah, dropped off the dog, and
Wow.
I didn't want to, but
awesome.
like I felt like
No,
if I
sure.
didn't, then
Well, you sure took
like-
that whole. Well, Eric started it, but you sure took it. I just said spray paint.
A lot of
my
death
God.
in our
know.
stories.
And in fact, actually, the snake made it the best of all of our stories.
Oh,
So,
snake's
Yeah.
still
yeah.
probably
But-
holding strong.
No,
What was
he's
the damn
dead
name of
too.
the snake? What was the name of
Ka.
the snake?
The,
Oh, from Jungle.
the
Book.
snake from the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Ka.
Very good. Of course. What else would it be?
but you said that snake was what 9 years with you?
Yeah.
Damn.
All right, let's get off of animal death stories. Let's get off of
I was happy.
animal serial killer Juanito Lopez here.
Good geez. I know who you two are voting for this year. Yeah.
Let's go to the
I'm
news.
not
Let's,
part of that state.
let's go to the news, man, from spacenews.com. Look at this contract. Millennium Space lands a $414 million contract to build missile tracking satellites. You ever heard of Millennium Space? Neither have I, because this is Millennium Space's first award as a prime contract for a Space Development Agency's proliferated constellation. Millennium Space, a subsidiary of Boeing, won the $414 million contract from the Space Development Agency, SDA, to produce specialized satellites aimed at detecting and tracking hypersonic missile threats. So I don't know what kind of sensor they're going to come up for that with that. And also it's like, can ours not? But I don't want to talk around classified. So under the agreement, Millennium will build 8 satellites equipped with advanced infrared and optical sensors, provide the ground system, and support in-orbit operations. So this sounds like a whole kit and caboodle here. Is this a
I think it's
whole
for the
nother
missile
stock
track
that's
custody
coming in?
program.
Yeah, MTC.
Smell some Nunn McCurdy's in their future.
And Boeing and Millennium are like, we don't even know what that means. That's not on us. We're just taking the money that's given to us. That's all.
And whatever's on the
Okay.
contract.
Part of the reason I did this story too is because I'm telling you, at the year end, I am going to compile all the acronyms, right, and see which one is the worst one.
Oh, here we
This has a chance to be the worst one. So, Millennium satellites are for a program called Fire Control on Orbit Support to the Warfighter, or Fire Control F on Orbit OO Support to the Warfighter, or Foo Fighter. That's what they're calling it. Foo Fighter.
Nice.
And Jake's look says it all. That's what
Now
I
you-
thought too.
Now you know somebody's sitting around that conference table going, "That's right, that's my idea.
Ooh, that's a
right.
good one. Yeah.
That's my idea. I got that."
Let's call it Foo Fighter. So there's an artist rendition of what those things are going to look like. Doesn't look like they're in Geo now, does it? But it doesn't, the article doesn't go into that. The article doesn't go into that.
Well,
So-
you got a whole queue of them right there. So
Yeah. Foo Fighter, which seeks to demonstrate technologies in support of a network of satellites being developed by SDA known as the Proliferated Warfighter Space Architecture. The PWSA is an ambitious effort to create a resilient network of hundreds of small mass-produced satellites operating in low Earth orbit, so it's LEO, to support military operations, including the detection and tracking of enemy missiles. SDA plans to launch the Foo Fighter satellites in the first quarter of fiscal year 2027. Derek Tournier, SDA director, said in a statement, Foo Fighter or F2. Believe me, they're going to be calling it F2, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come in and go, let's keep calling it Foo Fighter. And somebody's going to go, that's dumb. Go with F2. Will demonstrate advanced missile defense capability by incorporating fire control quality sensors into a prototype constellation. The program will provide an operational demonstration of fire control efforts separate from but complementary to our missile warning, missile tracking, and missile defense efforts already underway. So obviously this is square, like Juan said, in the MTC bucket, right? The missile tracking control bucket. But for a bunch of satellites that are going to be kind of commercial, sort of off the shelf, right? Not really, but 414 million for 8 of them.
You know
So
what's
it's not
amazing
much.
to me
It's not much.
is there is absolutely no operational security with these things and what they're doing in space. So our
Wait, what do you mean? What do you
adversaries-
mean? What do you mean by no operational security?
You just told me what the missile does, right? Early warning.
Oh,
missile.
but I didn't tell you what the
missile
sensor
launch.
does. I didn't
No.
tell you what the sensor
No,
does. And that's
but I'm
the
talking about-
difference, right?
Just from open source, our adversaries could walk out, grab all the information they need, and go, okay, now I know what it looks like. All I got to do is fly something that I have up there, whatever that might be, and frickin' take that thing out.
Yeah, but that's active war shit right now. You know, if you
Okay.
shoot down satellites and stuff, that's active war stuff. And you can't shoot it down without knowing where it came
And
from.
and the
Well,
We
debris
know you
field
launched it.
caused by that, because think of all the imagine that explosion or that every bit of chunks of debris is not going down. It's
Yeah, it's
staying
spread
there and spreading.
And China did that. What 5, 7, 8 years
And
ago?
the whole international
Yeah.
community was pissed.
So
Yeah.
Just because
China
of-
Yeah.
to demonstrate what they call an ASAT, an anti-satellite missile, Eric, they demonstrated on one of their own and blew it. They launched it and they blew it up. And
So
then
it shouldn't have
subsequently
flown
made a million little small little pieces up there in that orbit.
Yeah.
Right.
I would still think there would be more operational security on what these descriptions of these things do, even in open source.
Well, put
Yeah.
it this way, we know they have cameras up there in space, right? Right, that they're looking at, and I think
Sure.
the unclassified version is, I don't know, a meter or something like that. Yeah, you know, they have that resolution. I think it's less, but let's just use that as a working thing. I think they can see a meter, you know, across. But that's the unclassified version. They don't tell you what
Right.
the classified version is.
Sure,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, they know it's up there. We can't hide anything that's up there because
Yeah, but-
they have tracking stations. We have tracking stations. We
I
know
get that, but you're
everything
not
that's up
going to know its functionality right off the
Right.
bat without some type of researching over a period of time.
there. Right.
Right.
Yeah, but when it comes to that, though, it's like how many people have found just lost cities from Google Earth, right? And this is just satellite images, right? So, although you might have more sensors out there to track specific type of targets and whatever, that's one thing. But as technology evolves, I'm very curious on how, when it comes to national defense and stuff, is using commercial technology. That
And-
just everything,
right.
that classification might be out the door.
Who
in the
cares
future.
about what we're revealing, OPSEC wise, when you can float a balloon over the entire United States and just have a guy up there with a pair of binoculars and they got something down there. You
Eric,
don't need
to be
technology
fair,
for that.
Oh, you got me there, man.
there, to be fair, you're right. We do say a lot of that stuff,
We say too much.
but
right?
we do a lot of we do our fair share of dicking around,
Sure.
right. And you could say
they do their fair share of dicking around, shell game stuff,
Right.
random, random other crazy stuff.
Well,
I
And we
know
can-
you guys.
and we could tell specs about the stealth bomber or the B-1 or something like that. You still got to stop it.
Yeah.
You
True.
know what I mean? It's still
True.
up there. But yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, I always used to joke as I wish somebody would offer me $100,000 to give them some secrets because most of the shit's out on the internet anyway. I was like, dude, go get a Google. You can figure out everything
Open
that's up in Buckley,
source.
Yeah.
You pull enough open source stuff, you're going to have freaking association classified material,
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh,
big
yeah.
time.
Right.
So it's crazy.
So good
Well,
on Millennium
Should be
Space.
classified still.
Yeah. Yeah. Good on Millennium Space. So $414 million. Don't piss that away.
That's a hell of a contract to keep their people employed anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay, in the past on this show, we have talked flying drones. We have talked remote control ground vehicles. We've talked robot dogs.
Yes,
Right.
we have.
But there is one domain that we have not talked about when it comes to drones. So I got a couple stories here about that domain. The first of these stories is from stripes.com. Oh, hold on.
Show me the banner, baby.
There you go.
Oh,
Navy.
banner.
Navy is testing. In fact, they're done testing it tomorrow. Navy tests surface drone that can dive for days at a West African exercise. So we haven't talked drones in the water.
No, very few.
The U.S. Navy is testing an autonomous drone that can operate above and below the surface in a bid to help African countries battling piracy, the illicit drug trade, and other illegal activities in the Gulf of Guinea.
That's
Anybody
very
know
cool.
offhand where the Gulf of Guinea is?
Stand by.
I do not. But it's for this. Oh, dang it. the Triton, right? The Triton drone by a company called Ocean Arrow. All right, so that's what it looks like. I got a video to go with this to explain it. Rear Admiral Michael Mattis, Director of Strategic Effects, U.S. Naval Forces Europe, Africa, said last week, quote, the Triton drone's introduction during the Open Game Express multinational exercise is designed to determine whether it's suitable for long-term sustained use in the region. The exercise, which ends tomorrow. Tomorrow? What's the date tomorrow?
14th tomorrow.
14th.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 15th.
15th tomorrow. Oh,
Today's the
it ends. So the exercise ends on Friday. Includes launching and recovering the drone from the expeditionary sea-based USS Herschel Williams and conducting vessel boarding, searches, and seizures. These activities will help determine if Triton can be used reliably in a region where it isn't easy for the Navy to quickly source supplies and repairs. The 775-pound, 14.5-foot long, so it's not that big. I thought it would be bigger.
Looks big.
Yeah, the Triton surface drone is manufactured by Gulfport, Mississippi-based Ocean Arrow. Now, there's also a drone called Triton by Northrop Grumman, but it's an aerial drone. Are we really running out of names?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, did you check out our naval drone called the Triton? And some Northrop guy's like, you called yours a Triton? We already have a Triton. We called ours first. No, we called ours first. Anyway,
Triton A and Triton S.
let me tell you, we thought of Triton
C.
way before you thought of Triton.
By the way, the Gulf of Guinea is off the coast of Ghana, Liberia, and Cameroon, and Nigeria. So
so that's the
west-
western
It's
side.
in the armpit.
yeah, it's in the
Okay.
armpit.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah, as it goes up. Right. Here's a little video of, let me lower this volume because for StreamYard's very good at producing volume. Here.
So this thing's got wings of some sort too.
It'll explain it here in this video.
I'm joined by Oscar Rojas, Vice President of Global Operations.
What do you say?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for taking a look at the Ocean Arrow Triton. It is the world's only dual modality unmanned system. It is both a unmanned surface vehicle, and then upon receiving
Remember, it's
a
only
signal,
14 feet
within
long,
60
so-
seconds, it can dive down and become an unmanned underwater
paddleboard.
vehicle. So
Kind
the
of,
dual modality capability allows us to be able to perform many different functions for the end user.
So what are the mission sets?
For the oil and gas industry, we have advanced sensors where we can inspect oil and gas pipelines. We can do cable inspections and some of those critical infrastructures. So as you transition those capabilities that we perform for industry, they can be used for military use. The Triton has side-scan sonars and forward-looking sonars where we can
That's
start
a
to
lot of
visualize
electronics
the
packed in that
seabed and
14
do
and a half feet,
hydrographic
man.
surveys. In this case, we look for underwater infrastructure, but we could also potentially go look for sea mines that may be in a certain area. The other thing that we can do is on the surface, it can serve as a platform to give you maritime domain awareness. So we say that the Triton provides an unblinking eye in the maritime environment because of its advanced ISR capabilities and advanced communications capability where we create a mesh network on the water, and then we send
that's
all
cool.
those signals
Those
near
dolphins are
real
gonna
time
have to look for a
right
new
back
job.
to the end user's control center. For the last year and a half, we are transitioning from research and development and training and evaluation over to operational use. And the main reason why is we have now matured the threat detection and obstacle avoidance capabilities of
This
this
obstacle
vehicle.
avoidance
So
is
it is
cool.
finally a truly semi-autonomous vehicle. It can think and move and do things on its own. For example, on the surface, if it sees a vessel coming near it, it automatically, on its own, without having a human making a decision, it can dive down and not become a hazard to navigation. And once it's underwater, we also want to make sure that it can do
And not become a
obstacle
hazard to
avoidance. As it's
navigation.
navigating underwater, max depth
Yeah,
is about
yeah, right.
working depth is 100 meters, but it can go down to 200 meters. And as you're going down, if there is a coral mountain, that obstacle avoidance allows the Triton to, on its own, change the altitude and go over that mountain or go around the mountain in order to not damage itself.
Wow,
It's pretty
that's
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Right?
That is.
And he went on to say a couple other things about how they're adapting it and those kind of things. And they asked, do you have a bigger version? And he said, right now we're meeting all DoD specs, so we haven't built it yet. And everything with these is yet. So
future weapon systems on board too, I bet.
what are you talking
yeah.
about? That's not weapons. No. Why
I
would
said
they go to
future weapon
weapons?
systems.
Why would
Sure.
they go to weapons, man?
Well, we started off
But-
with unarmed drones in the air,
You're right.
and then
Well,
we
we
were like,
started
well,
off
let's
with,
strap some hellfires to this.
hot air balloons
Okay.
that were just like, hey, this is fun. What if we dropped a hand grenade on these guys?
Whoop. Yeah.
Well, there's that, and then the cartels are using air drones to do drugs, and now
Sure.
that one,
Well,
Why
they're
would
also
those
using
bad boys
they've got
Void the
some
Coast Guard, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
some sea drone stuff. So
That's cool.
okay, here's the second story. Banner.
Seamless transition.
Thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate that.
Yep.
DARPA's autonomous Manta Ray drone. Now, this is a bigger drone. I thought maybe are they trying to vie for the first or the Navy's contract, but they're different. They're different functionality. That Triton, they said only travels like four knots an hour. It's slow, right? So I think their design, because I thought, well, why don't you just drop a ton of these around a ship? And now you got sensors out to miles,
Yeah.
right? And nobody can get close. That's not how they're being utilized. So they're just dropping them off, and these things can loiter for a month wherever you drop them off. They can dive down and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
Now
that's
this
cool.
Manta Ray, now we're
Oh.
talking, right? We're talking some.
to me it looked like a sunfish, though. It didn't look like a
well,
manta ray to me.
yeah, but we're talking some serious offensive potential here.
He's going to call it Mr. Bubbles.
I like that.
Sunshine.
Sorry.
Northrop Grumman Corporation has built its Manta Ray uncrewed underwater vehicle, which will operate long duration missions and carry payloads into the ocean depths in partnership with DARPA. DARPA launched a Manta Ray program in 2020 to improve underwater vehicle design, including developing techniques to increase payload capacity. Second time they've used payload, and conserve energy. So rather than me try to describe this, let me show you the part of the Manta Ray video, right?
The company said the tests demonstrated
sorry.
hydrodynamic performance at sea, including submerged operation using all UUV propulsion and steering modes,
Ooh, that is
including
big.
buoyancy,
Yeah, it's
propeller, and control surfaces. Our successful full-scale Manta Ray testing validates the vehicle's readiness to advance toward real-world operations
yeah.
once
Yeah,
it is
that's
rapidly assembled in the field
that's a
from
bomber
modular
in the water,
subparts,
baby.
said Kyle
came from
Warner,
Atlantis.
DARPA program manager for Manta Ray. He added that the combination of cross-country modular
Look, it can
transport,
deploy shit.
field assembly, and subsequent deployment demonstrated a first-of-its-kind capability
That's a
for an
dangerous
extra-large
machine right
UUV.
there.
I would say the Trenton, whatever the hell it is, it's out.
Northrop Grumman shipped
The
the Manta Ray
Trinitron.
prototype in parts
Whatever
from
it
its
was.
manufacturing site in
Triton's
Maryland
done.
to its
Different
test
mission
site
set,
in
different
California.
mission set.
Ease of delivery and assembly supports the possibility of rapid worldwide deployment without taking up valuable dock space at naval facilities.
Listen to that rock
Sending
in the
vehicles
background.
directly to their intended operating areas saves energy that would otherwise be expended during transit. Warner said, once deployed, the vehicle uses efficient gliding force and is powered by buoyancy to move through the water. The aircraft is designed with multiple payload
Aircraft.
bays of various sizes and types to enable a
She did
diverse
say
set of naval
aircraft, right?
missions.
She called it
He
an
added,
aircraft, yeah.
I mean, if it could fly, if it go in water and then also fly,
Yeah, it's kinda
Manta
fun.
Ray is designed as a new
That would
class
be
of
awesome.
long duration, long range, payload capable UUV ready for continuous operations in dynamic
Oh,
maritime
man,
environments.
check that
I know.
out.
DARPA is working with the U.S. Navy on the testing and transition of this technology.
Space Ghost. You guys remember Space
Yeah,
Ghost?
kind of. Yeah, Space Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
coast to coast.
right. Very good. Good one, Eric.
That's awesome, man.
That's a good pull. So, but yeah, that's that thing looks very potentially dangerous, right?
No doubt.
I mean, imagine you got 15 of those fuckers, and you're like hey, we're gonna go bomb. I was like, no, what are all these things on the bottom of the ocean? I mean, my God, who knows what they can put in there? So but I can also see the Triton, right? It was called the Triton.
Triton.
Right?
Trimtron.
The Triton will probably be the forward sensor for something like the Manta Ray.
All
All
right.
drone stuff, right? I mean, they've got side scanning radar. They got all the side sonar, front sonar. And they're like, oh, there's one, and here comes this fleet of Manta
Couldn't
Rays.
you could see them escorting Navy convoys, man.
Oh
I was
yeah,
gonna say,
yeah, absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
Triton would be controlled by the Marines, and then the Manta Rays controlled by the Navy.
Yeah, that's
Really,
pretty
you're
cool.
gonna put the control in the Marines' hand? They'll be like,
Hey man,
oh, it is.
if they gotta go clear the area, somebody has to do it.
You know, Marty, it's that one guy we left on the island. In the
Oh
in the middle
yeah, I
of
remember that
Pacific.
story. Yeah, right,
He'll,
right,
He'll
right.
be the guy controlling it.
Yeah.
The one guy out there. Yeah,
The
yeah.
one guy.
So he's got the remote rocket launchers on the ground. He's got the shit under the air. That's a powerful man, man.
That's
a
one dude
powerful-
on an
yeah.
island, man.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Good one. All right, let's talk about the services doing, doing what they do and do it well.
Ooh,
Right?
Yeah.
That's the best way to. That's the best way to say it. So this first story is from Stripes.com. The Coast Guard offloads $185 million in cocaine and marijuana on return from their deployment. The
That's
crew of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Mohawk offloaded a huge haul of cocaine and marijuana on Friday at Port Everglades. You know where that is, Eric? Port
do.
Everglades?
I do.
Where is it?
In Florida.
South.
Now the Everglades
Pulling information out.
south on the Atlantic side. South on the Atlantic side, way
Okay.
south. Yeah.
All right.
No way.
Post Everglades that it and other agencies and service branches seized during a deployment patrolling the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. So this wasn't just like a normal Coast Guard cutter, right? This was a big ship. So this is the Mohawk,
Nice.
right? So it's a bigger one. And it had all these different agencies on it. So that was kind of interesting too. I wonder if it was kind of used as a base, as Navy, CIA, whatever, kind of bounce between that ship and everything else.
I'm sure DEA was part of that little party.
Probably. The 13,803 pounds of cocaine and 3,700 pounds of marijuana have a total estimated street value of $185 million. The Mohawk is a ship with a crew of 100 sailors based in Key West. Imagine that basing, right? What'd you get? Thule. What'd you get? Key West, man. I'd much rather go to Tukunk or whatever the hell they renamed.
Oh
Thule
yeah, they
to.
renamed
Yeah.
Julie.
Coast Guard's going to sell the marijuana to the state of Colorado for some funding for another boat.
Job Coasties.
Why
Do we
not?
got Coast Guard up by Thule or no? I mean,
Hey,
obviously they got
we-
Alaska, but I don't know.
Medical's legal in Florida.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Medical's
this was,
legal in over 50% of the states.
That's right.
Right?
That's
So
right.
all the states are bartering for a piece of the haul.
Oh, they're pissed.
Federal, they just changed it too. It's no longer.
That's a lot of glaucoma
Big
going
schedule.
untreated now. So
Yeah.
the Mohawk, a ship with a crew of 100 sailors based in Key West, is part of a task force that includes U.S. Customs and Border Protection, air and marine operations, the U.S. Navy, along with the Royal Netherlands Navy and the Royal British Navy that patrols the Caribbean and Atlantic for drug smugglers. As part of this latest deployment, the task force detained 10 people accused of drug smuggling, according to the press release. The story went on where they got this semi-submersible. They found it and they brought them up, right? And they arrested a couple guys there, and it had like 600 keys of coke on it.
Oh,
So, the creativity of the cartels is driving our response. It's really crazy,
no doubt. Manta
I'm
Rays.
telling you,
and-
they're gonna buy them with some of those drones.
Oh, yeah. Wait till we deploy the Manta Ray, baby.
yeah, man.
All right,
No,
last
the
one.
cartel's going to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Man, it's over.
This was pretty cool because when I first read it, I was like, why call the Air Force? Really? Do you just need a glory story? But this was actually pretty interesting. So This is from Task and Purpose. An Air Force pararescue team dropped onto a cruise ship to retrieve a sick child. So a call came in of a seriously ill child aboard a Carnival cruise ship, Venezia. The ship was 350 miles. That seems like an awful long way for a cruise ship to go. 350 miles off the Atlantic coast of Florida. To reach it, they launched 2 HC-130J tankers and 2 HH-60J helicopters, each with 2-man pararescue teams on board. So for most ocean rescues, the Coast Guard is typically the first maritime response force, but the medical condition of the child on the Venezia required immediate care, and the distance from shore required helicopters because you couldn't send planes out there, right? They required helicopters capable of refueling several times, a specialty of Air Force rescue helicopters and their tankers. Reaching the ship's remote location required 3 air-to-air refuelings. 3 times
Wow.
they had to refuel.
That's a long haul. Man.
Both HC-130Js circled overhead as the HH-60s hovered over the ship, first dropping pararescue men aboard and then recovering them with the patient and his mother. The helicopters flew the boy to a Florida hospital and returned to Patrick about 8 hours after launching. So that's why they called, because they didn't have anything that they had planes, but the planes couldn't land and pick them up. So that makes
What
sense.
about the Coast Guard? Wouldn't the Coast Guard have had the same capability?
Coast Guard's busy busting drugs, baby.
Yeah, man.
They have no time for sick kids.
I don't know. Do they have that? I mean, for ease of support, Air Force can rely on Air Force. Hey, refuel these helicopters.
True.
Yeah, it's all
one
self-contained.
chain.
Right. Launch
So,
2 tankers, 2 helicopters, and go. You don't need any.
Yeah, do the
approval from
coasties
anybody
have
else.
mid-air refuelers? They
I
have.
think they do, man. I
think they
truly
do.
think they do. It's the C-130 stuff. Same kind of principle, I think.
But at the same,
Yeah.
I don't know how the call came in, but I don't know if a medic, or in need of a medic,
I wonder if their
is
medics are.
first on the Coast Guard's list. I'm sure they got them, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. Maybe the Air Force is like, we'll take it. We got it. Well, the Coast Guard's only like 100 miles. Oh, we got it. All right.
We need a good
Okay,
story.
all right.
Yeah,
All right.
it's cool though.
All right.
It is cool.
So, yeah, good on them. Good on the Coasties. Good on the PJs.
The next
we
story
gotta-
we're going to have is 2 PJs received, a freaking Silver Star
Space
for
wings.
dropping on the boat and saving the kid's life.
I love how Eric always comes back to when
Yeah.
they do something good, they get a medal. Because whatever trauma you have from that story.
Congrats for doing your job.
That's my
Medal.
point, man. Here's your
I
medal.
know that's
for
what
doing
I'm saying. I'm making fun of you because that's exactly what you're saying.
It's like,
This is a man who doesn't believe anybody deserves a medal.
In
and
my
pregnant
era, we
women should
called
be out
that-
walking the fence lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in my era, we called that Wednesday. We
right?
just did our job.
We just
And you may get a pat on the back when you turned your weapon in. I don't know. Something
Yep.
like that. Good job,
Somebody-
Dave. Good
The
job.
chocolate donuts, Eric's guys. You leave that chocolate donut alone. He did a good job.
Come on now.
uh,
I only ate a few donuts at a time, man. Just
well, you needed those empty calories late in the
Right.
day.
The little
a
donuts.
little sugar
to get
rush.
to get you to that second workout, right?
Sugar rush. That's right. That's right.
Those Hostess
Eric,
ones,
hit me up with some U.S. military history. Blow my balls
You know what?
off with one, man.
This is a good one. And here's the thing.
balls.
Based on what you fellas just said, this is going to be dedicated to my security police brothers and sisters
Nice.
for them. All right.
Very good.
So this
man.
About time you
story-
support your own.
Yeah, this is big. This will
Yeah,
be
man.
something that you guys weren't aware of.
All right.
So, were you guys familiar with the USS Mayaguez rescue operation? Maya 75.
was that after Vietnam?
It was, but right
I-
after when the Khmer Rouge, the communist forces in Cambodia.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Took over a
Cambodians,
ship?
right.
Well,
Yeah.
here's a piece. So
I am
ultimately,
familiar with that
Fields and all
story,
that?
but tell it. Yeah.
so ultimately, the Marines are tasked and they go on and recover everybody. Okay.
Well, wait,
That's
you
the-
got to set the
No,
stage.
no,
of
wait.
that,
I'm setting the stage. Relax. This is my history.
Well, you just
So,
set me in? Okay. All right. sorry.
Before that, the first time security police were tasked with a
clap
high priority rescue mission was in May of
Please take note.
1975 when the SS Mayaguez merchant ship was seized by Khmer Rouge communist forces in Cambodia. When diplomatic efforts failed to secure the release of the Mayaguez, on May 13th, General Burns and his 7th Air Force staff developed a contingency plan to retake the Mayaguez using an assault force composed of men of the Air Force 56 Security Police Squadron.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh,
75 volunteers from the 56 would be dropped onto the containers on the decks of the Mayaguez on the morning of 14 May. In preparation for this assault, 5 HH-53s and 7 CH-53s were ordered to proceed to the Utapo Royal Thai Navy Airfield for staging. At approximately 21:30, one of the 21st SOS CH-53s, call sign Knife 13, crashed en route to the Utapo, killing 18 security police and its 5-man crew. The trailing CH-53 Jolly Green helicopter landed and dismounted its security forces to assist the crew of the downed aircraft. After the crash, a decision was made to employ a USMC assault element rather than the SP forces. The 18 SPs who perished in the crash were listed as having died in a training accident, although all were awarded posthumously Bronze Stars with a V device for valor.
They were listed as a training act? No way.
Whoa,
Yep.
no way.
And that was the first time that cops would have been in an assault force. I would have loved to have seen had they been able to finish the assault and see what the outcome was. Because I would love to go, it was a success. You know what I mean?
Well, sure. Yeah.
So, and by the way, that was coincidentally the last and
Instead,
final
they called the
conflict
Marines.
for the United States in the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that was after we were pulling out or about to pull out, and there was the last
Correct.
thing.
May of 75, man. But a part that you didn't know, I bet, because if you read about
I didn't know
the
they were
Mayaguez,
cops. Yeah, I didn't know that.
nobody knew the initial group were security police. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty
Good
cool.
on you, Eric. Well done, man.
Yeah.
Well done.
Juan, did you see how he initially treated Eric? This is why we don't bring stories anymore.
That's how I
This is why.
bring out the best of him, though. See, he tried harder.
He
He
tried.
tried harder. Right?
No, you just would have let him go.
Well, he told the end of it first. I was like, "What? Wait, what?" And
Well,
he's like,
And they
Hold
all
on.
died.
and he
Quentin
did this.
Tarantino.
That was because the part
That's
everybody
true.
knew that
He
story.
did Tarantino it a little bit. Yeah.
Everybody knew that the Marines come in and successfully took the ship back, but they
Well,
didn't.
but
know.
it is also
how
one of
to
those
protect.
events that not many people know about. The Mayaguez.
That's true.
Because
That's
it was a
true.
merchant marine ship too, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And they were holding it
honestly didn't
kind of
know about it.
hostage, I think.
They
were
were.
holding it hostage. So,
Cruise.
yeah. So,
What's the deal with the merchant marines? Eric, sorry, good story. I
I'm Roger.
appreciate it.
Second,
But I don't understand what the
Merchant Marines task is.
are.
I don't
like,
know.
Or
Yeah, because
Which
they're
is weird
almost
because, like, if you get accepted to their academy, you either be a merchant marine or join any service
yeah,
as an officer.
right, and it's
So
almost
we had
a guy at-
considered
at
like a
Buckley.
service. Yeah.
an officer at Buckley that was a merchant marine.
Oh, really?
It's you got commissioned.
Sounds like we have to do a story on the Merchant Marines, fellas.
All right.
I just seem like a bunch of sailors with a bunch of tattoos and a bunch of VD. That's what I see from merchant marines.
Well, that's like all you did was combine Navy and Marines. No, jeez, that's just freaking. I bet you
Did
they
you
have
sprinkle-
foul mouths.
Did you at least sprinkle a little bit of Coast Guard in there?
Probably curse like
Yep.
a sailor.
That's
I
awesome.
gotta say, probably 65% of the time, their mothers are not proud.
But they're proud of their mothers.
Oh
Yeah,
my
they probably
goodness.
got the tat right there. That's right.
That's too funny.
Oh shit. Good one, Eric.
Okay.
Thanks, gentlemen. I think we're at NDEP. Let's see. Yeah, NDEP. On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments. And make sure next week that you are not late for changeover. See, Eric is dying to do it, Jake.
Now he's not.
He's mocking.
Oh, man, thanks for the stories of death and to everyone watching, Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Right on.
And Eric, cack check.
Cack, I don't have
Cack,
my cack.
get your cack.
At the,
Where's the cack card? I don't have mine.
Juan has his cack in his hand.
remember, for a long time they have those signs: cack check.
Cack.
Make sure you got your
Shack.
cack. Don't leave work without your cack.
By the way, the Nuggets are beating the Timberwolves 35-33 right now.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.